Hello, and welcome to episode 2.2. I am James. In this and the next few episodes, I firstly will explain what humans use to produce the sounds that they make, and secondly explain how we can describe these sounds. The parts of the body which we use to produce speech sounds are collectively called the vocal tract. You can see the vocal tract on the screen now. Air comes from your throat and out of your mouth. The scientific name for throat is the pharynx. Inside it is the larynx, which is colloquially called the voice box, which contains the vocal cords. The larynx is the lump which can be seen in your neck and is colloquially called the Adam's apple. It is definitely more obvious in men. You can make speech sounds by pushing air through the vocal cords. These are two doors that can open or close in order to create different sounds. The space between the vocal cords, which the air travels through, is called the glottis. At the top of the pharynx and at the back of the mouth is a piece of flesh called the uvula, which simply ensures that food goes into the esophagus, which is colloquially called the food pipe, and not the trachea, which is colloquially called the windpipe. The mouth is an essential area for the production of sounds. Use your tongue to touch the top of your mouth, and move your tongue as far back as possible. Can you feel the soft fleshy area? This is called the soft palate, or the velum. The soft palate can move, and by doing so, allows air to go into either the oral cavity, which is the mouth, or the nasal cavity, which is the nose. We'll discuss the difference between the sounds made in these two cavities later. Move your tongue further forward, and the flesh gets harder. This is called the hard palate, sometimes just called the palate. Even further forward is an area which suddenly goes down and ends with a bump. This is called the alveolar ridge. After this, we reach the front of the mouth, which is where two important parts of the vocal tract are located: the upper and lower teeth and the upper and lower lips. Finally is the tongue itself. It is divided into 5 parts, and each one is used in the production of speech. From the back to the front are the tongue root, the back of the tongue, the front of the tongue blade, and finally the tip of the tongue. Everything in the mouth that is used for producing speech is called an articulator. It is an articulator if it is touched by something, or if it does the touching. If it is touched by something, it is called a passive articulator. For example, the alveolar ridge, because it is touched by the tongue to make speech sounds. If it does the touching, it is an active articulator. For example, the tongue, because it touches several parts of the mouth to make speech sounds. Now, please answer some questions. The video will pause and then restart after you answer them. Let's now explore how to describe the sounds that humans make. The sounds of all languages can be put into 2 basic groups: consonants and vowels. There is one big difference between them. When you say a vowel, nothing in the mouth blocks or limits the flow of air as it comes from your throat and out your mouth. Therefore, the air flows freely. But if the air flows freely, how do we make different vowel sounds? Say ah, and then E. There are two big differences. Your mouth is more closed for E, and, although it can be hard to feel, your tongue is further forward in your mouth. Therefore, you can change the shape of the mouth and the position of the tongue to create different vowels, but the air still flows freely. For example, E, R, O, U, On the other hand, in order to make a consonant, you must completely block, or at least limit, the air as it travels from your throat and out of your mouth. In other words, you must reduce the amount of available space for the air to come out of your mouth. Think about sounds like P. To make this sound, you need to close your mouth and put your lips together, and then quickly open your mouth for the air to suddenly come out again. Another example is V, which is made by putting your upper teeth and lower lip together. Here, the amount of space that the air has to flow out of your mouth is limited, because it must get through the small space between your upper teeth and lower lip. Thus, in summary, the air is unrestricted for vowels, but restricted for consonants. There are 20 vowels and 24 consonants in standard British English. This gives us 44 sounds in English. With only 26 letters to represent them in English spelling, you can again see that there cannot possibly be a one-to-one relationship between English spelling and English pronunciation. Now that we know the basic differences between consonants and vowels, let's learn how to describe them in detail. We'll start with consonants, and this will be the topic of the next episode. Before we finish, please answer some questions. The video will pause and then restart after you answer them. Thank you for watching.